Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're diving into the world of NVIDIA. You know, that powerhouse behind AI and gaming. Um, they're just crushing it in these high growth markets, even expanding into automotive and data centers. Huge potential, right?
Yeah, absolutely massive.
But of course, the big question is NVIDIA stock, NVDA, actually worth it? That price tag is, well, it's pretty hefty.
It is.
So that's what we're here to figure out. We've got a recent report packed with info about the company's performance, and let me tell you, some of these numbers are
I
mind-blowing.
was surprised by some of this. Yeah.
I'm talking record revenues, booming data center sales, strong predictions for the future, the whole 9 yards.
They're really killing it. Yeah.
But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's fierce competition out there,
Hmm.
particularly from China, and those pesky supply chain issues just won't quit.
Those are definitely some headwinds they're facing. But what's fascinating is that NVIDIA isn't just riding the AI wave. They're essentially steering the ship.
Yeah.
Their recent performance is a testament to that.
Yeah, I was reading about that. It's pretty amazing.
Just look at their latest earnings report. And sure, their Hopper and Blackwell architectures are prime examples. These are the brains behind their powerful GPUs, offering performance levels that are really tough to match.
Okay.
But it goes beyond just raw power. NVIDIA has also cultivated a comprehensive software ecosystem around their hardware.
Oh,
Tools like AI Enterprise and NVIDIA AI, or IMMUM as it's often called, they streamline the entire process of building and deploying AI models. This creates high switching costs for companies that have integrated NVIDIA's solutions.
does it get locked in?
Kind of, yeah. Think of it like choosing an operating system for your business. Once you're in that ecosystem, changing to a competitor can be a logistical nightmare.
So they've got them hooked. It's like they've created this
Yeah.
perfect ecosystem where everything works together seamlessly, making it really sticky for customers. That makes a lot of sense. But let's get back to those impressive numbers for a second. You mentioned their recent performance was stellar. What exactly stood out in their Q3 report?
Well, they blew past their own revenue projections, largely driven by record data center revenue. Their Hopper GPUs are in high demand, and the newly launched Blackwell GPUs are already exceeding expectations, even though they're still in their early stages.
Wow, great.
They shipped 13,000 GPU samples in Q3 alone, showing just how confident NVIDIA is in this new architecture.
That's a good sign. And if you combine that with their upcoming software updates, like the one for NVIDIA that's projected to boost Hopper's inference performance by a whopping 2.4 times, it paints a pretty promising picture for NVIDIA's future market dominance.
Yeah, they're really setting themselves up well.
Okay, so now let's get down to brass tacks of
Now,
the stock price. Where is NVDA sitting right now, and how does that compare to its perceived value?
as of today, NVDA is trading at $145.89. Now, that's a bit above the estimated fair value of $138.29.
Well, it's trading at a premium. Does that mean it's overpriced?
Not necessarily. Many analysts believe this premium is justified. Considering the overwhelmingly positive sentiment around NVIDIA, their AI dominance is making headlines. And the potential for massive free cash flow is a big draw for investors.
Yes, of course.
Plus, all the buzz surrounding their earnings definitely contributed to that price bump.
Yeah, all that hype can really drive things up.
It seems positive news coverage,
Nice.
especially the anticipation leading up to their earnings release, played a big role in shaping market perception.
Okay, so there's a lot of excitement around NVIDIA. But let's not forget that no investment is without risk. We need to talk about the potential challenges too, right?
Absolutely. No investment is a sure thing. We have to look at the potential pitfalls, and one of the biggest ones for NVIDIA is competition,
Yeah.
particularly from the Chinese market.
Right, you mentioned China's ambitions in the semiconductor industry before. What's the concern there?
Well, China has been investing heavily in its domestic chip industry. There are some serious players emerging who are developing their own GPUs and AI chips, aiming to reduce their reliance on foreign tech, particularly from the US.
So this isn't just a typical business rivalry. There are geopolitical factors at play too. How is NVIDIA responding to this pressure?
Well, they're certainly not backing down. They're pushing the boundaries of performance and innovation, but they're also leveraging their established global partnerships. Remember those collaborations we discussed earlier?
Right.
Those alliances with major players in cloud computing, telecommunications, and automotive are incredibly valuable.
Right, those partnerships open doors to new markets and create a powerful network effect. The more companies using NVIDIA's technology, the harder it becomes for competitors to gain a foothold. It's like the saying, strength in numbers.
Exactly. And it's important to note that NVIDIA is also very aware of the regulatory landscape, especially when it comes to sensitive technologies and export controls. Navigating those regulations, particularly in the context of U.S.-China relations, will be a key factor in their future success.
So we've covered a lot of ground already. We've talked about NVIDIA's dominance, their growth, the competitive landscape, and some of the potential risks. What would you say is the overall takeaway for someone considering investing in NVDA?
Well, the market for AI computing is booming, and NVIDIA seems to be in the perfect position to ride that wave, but those complexities we've discussed shouldn't be ignored.
You're right. It's easy to get caught up in the hype. But ultimately, the decision to invest is a personal one that requires careful consideration. So before we move on to the next part of our deep dive, where we'll delve into some more specific details from the reports and explore potential scenarios for NVIDIA's future. Let's take a moment too.
Yeah, before we jump into all that, I think it's worth addressing some concerns that investors have raised about NVIDIA. They've been pretty proactive in tackling these head on.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
What were some of the big worries?
One concern was potential heating issues with the new Blackwell architecture. These GPUs are incredibly powerful, and, all that power can generate a lot of heat, which can be a challenge to manage.
Yeah, overheating can,
Right.
throttle performance, cause system failures even. So I get why investors would be concerned about that.
Exactly. But NVIDIA has been very transparent about this. They've explained how they designed Blackwell with advanced cooling solutions and are confident in its ability to perform under pressure.
Okay, that's good. What about their profit margins? New technologies often come with higher production costs, which can squeeze those margins. Was that a concern?
It was. Yeah, rightfully so. Investors wanted to know how Blackwell's rollout would affect NVIDIA's profitability. And while there was a slight dip in gross margin in Q3, due to the higher cost of these new systems, NVIDIA anticipates a rebound to a robust mid-70% range once Blackwell scales up fully.
So a temporary blip, but the long-term outlook remains positive. Any other concerns NVIDIA addressed?
Yeah, investors were really interested in understanding the company's product roadmap. The AI landscape is evolving so quickly. It's crucial for NVIDIA to stay ahead of the curve. And they emphasize their commitment to continued innovation, particularly in areas like industrial AI, enterprise AI, and even sovereign AI initiatives. Those are essentially government-led AI projects. They're positioning themselves to be the go-to provider for AI solutions across a wide range of sectors.
Sounds like they're covering all their bases.
Yeah.
But let's circle back to the competition for a moment. You mentioned that companies in China pose a particular challenge. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. China has been pouring resources into building up their domestic semiconductor industry, and some really formidable players are emerging. They're developing their own GPUs and AI chips with the goal of reducing their reliance on foreign technology, especially from the U.S.
But it's not just about market share. There's a geopolitical dimension to this as well. It's almost like a tech race is unfolding, with China striving for self-sufficiency in AI technology.
Exactly. It's a situation that could potentially disrupt the global semiconductor market.
So how is NVIDIA responding to this?
Well, they're not sitting idly by. They're continuing to push the boundaries of performance and innovation. And they're also leveraging those global partnerships we discussed earlier.
Right.
Those alliances with key players in cloud computing, telecommunications, and automotive are incredibly valuable, providing them with access to new markets and strengthening their overall position.
Right. It's like they're building a fortress with these partnerships. The more companies they integrate with, the harder it becomes for competitors to make inroads. It's a classic case of strength in numbers. But beyond partnerships, they also have to navigate a complex web of regulations, especially when it comes to sensitive technologies and export controls.
Absolutely. They've been very vocal about their commitment
Good.
to complying with export controls, which is crucial in the current climate of U.S.-China relations. Successfully navigating these regulations will be a key factor in their future success.
Okay, so we've discussed their strengths, their growth, the competitive landscape, and some of the potential risks. What's the bottom line for someone considering investing in NVDA? Is it a buy, a sell, a hold?
Well, I can't give you specific investment advice, but I can offer some insights. The market for AI computing is incredibly strong right now, and NVIDIA appears very well positioned to capitalize on this trend. They're a leader in the AI space, and their financial performance is impressive. However, they do face headwinds from competition, supply chain constraints, and the constant need to invest heavily to stay ahead.
Well, it's a mixed bag, but with a lot of potential. But potential doesn't always translate into profits. What should investors be watching closely? as they make their decisions?
I think it's crucial to monitor the competitive landscape closely. How will those Chinese companies evolve? Will they manage to erode NVIDIA's market share? And what about other competitors? Will someone come up with a disruptive technology? That changes the game. These are all factors investors need to keep in mind.
It's fascinating to think that we're witnessing the birth of such a transformative technology, and NVIDIA is right at the center of it. Whether they maintain their dominance, adapt to new challenges, or even pivot to entirely new opportunities, the next few years will be very exciting to watch.
Absolutely. And this brings us to another important point. While NVIDIA has a strong focus on AI, it's worth remembering that their gaming segment is still a significant part of their business.
Right. They're not just about data centers and AI chips. They still make those high-powered graphics cards that gamers drool over. How is that segment performing?
Well, it's been facing some headwinds, mainly due to those ongoing supply chain constraints. The demand for gaming GPUs is still strong, but getting those products to market has been a challenge.
So are they doing anything to address this?
They are. They're working closely with their suppliers to improve their supply chain resilience. They're also investing in new manufacturing facilities to diversify their production capabilities. And they're focusing on higher-end gaming products where the margins are better.
That makes sense. So it sounds like NVIDIA is taking steps to mitigate these challenges, but it's still something investors should keep an eye on. Okay, so before we wrap up this deep dive, let's take a quick peek into the future. What are some potential scenarios that could play out for NVIDIA?
One scenario is that they continue to dominate the AI hardware market, riding the wave of increasing demand and outpacing their competitors. Their focus on full-stack solutions, from chips to software platforms, gives them a significant advantage. But as we've discussed, that depends on their ability to navigate those challenges we've outlined. Competition is fierce, supply chains are still fragile, and maintaining their innovation edge requires constant investment.
Right. It's not a guarantee, but it's certainly a possibility. What are some other scenarios?
Another scenario is that the competitive landscape shifts more dramatically. Perhaps a rival emerges with a groundbreaking technology that disrupts the market, or geopolitical tensions create significant barriers to trade. These are factors that could have a major impact on NVIDIA's trajectory.
And then there's the broader question of how the AI landscape itself evolves. Will we see new types of models emerge that require different hardware or software? How will regulations impact the pace of AI adoption? These are all unknowns that could reshape the industry. But one thing is for sure, it's going to be a fascinating ride.
It really is. We're at a pivotal moment in the evolution of technology, and NVIDIA is right in the thick of it. Whether they maintain their current position, adapt to new challenges, or even pivot to entirely new opportunities, the next few years will be incredibly exciting to watch.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground. In this deep dive into NVIDIA, we've explored their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and the potential challenges that lie ahead. We hope this has given you a better understanding of this complex and fascinating company.
And if you found this deep dive insightful, we encourage you to do your own research, weigh the risks and rewards carefully, and always remember that no investment is without risk.
Absolutely. And most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on future deep dives. We've got a ton of exciting episodes in the pipeline covering all sorts of fascinating companies and industries. But before we sign off, there's one more detail about NVIDIA that I found particularly interesting. It's about the adoption rate of their H200 GPUs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Those things are selling like hotcakes. It really underscores their focus on delivering top-notch performance for AI applications.
The report actually mentioned that H200 sales have already hit double-digit billions. That's not just impressive, that's a clear signal that there's a massive hunger for this kind of AI processing power. If this is any indication, NVIDIA seems to be in the right place at the right time, in a market that's only going to get bigger.
And you know what's interesting? This ties into the evolving landscape of AI itself. While there's been a huge focus on training large language models, we're starting to see a shift towards inference.
Now, I know we have some listeners who might not be AI experts. Can you break down what inference is and why it's becoming so crucial?
Sure. Think of it this way. Training is like teaching a model to perform a task, like understanding language or recognizing images. Inference is when that model actually uses that knowledge to do something in the real world. So imagine you're teaching a model to identify different types of birds. Training is the learning phase, where it absorbs information about different bird species. Inference is when it actually sees a bird in your backyard and tells you, hey, that's a robin.
So it's like training is the classroom.
Yeah.
And Inference is putting that knowledge to work in the real world.
Makes sense. And why is this shift towards inference such a big deal?
Because we're seeing a surge in applications that demand real-time decision-making based on AI models. Things like self-driving cars, personalized recommendations, fraud detection, all sorts of things that need to happen instantly.
Gotcha.
And guess who's at the forefront of providing the hardware and software to power this inference revolution?
NVIDIA.
You got it.
It's all starting to click now. Those powerful Hopper GPUs are already beasts when it comes to inference. And with that upcoming NIM software update, their performance is expected to jump even higher. They're really solidifying their position as the go-to solution for companies that need to run AI models in real time. And it's not just speed, it's also cost-effectiveness. NVIDIA's H200 GPUs are delivering significant improvements in total cost of ownership compared to previous generations, making them even more attractive to businesses looking to deploy AI solutions.
Yeah, it's a compelling proposition for sure. NVIDIA is offering a powerful combination of performance and affordability, which is a winning formula in any market.
Well, folks, there you have it. We've explored NVIDIA from top to bottom, covering their strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and the potential challenges ahead. We hope this deep dive has given you a clearer picture of this complex and dynamic company. But, as always, the decision of whether or not to invest is ultimately yours.
We always encourage our listeners to do their own research. Weigh the risks and rewards carefully. And remember, no investment is ever a sure thing.
Absolutely. And on that note, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into NVIDIA. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future deep dives. We've got a lot more fascinating companies and industries to explore. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep investing wisely.